Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So welcome to Startup Grind. The idea has always been to be able to have a local entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, be able to share some of the stories and lessons learned along the way to growing their companies. And tonight with Ralph, you had several companies that you've been involved in over the years.
Yeah, 3 exactly.
Before we get into the details of the companies you've been working with, we always like to find out a little bit more about you personally. So, were you born in a big city, in a small city? Where do you come from?
Yeah, so I'm coming from the French part, basically, as you can hear. So I'm born French speaking. My mother is from Swiss-German part, from Zurich. So basically I've grown with the 2 languages. I'm able to speak Tripadvisor. That's very unusual for a French speaker, Swiss French speaker. I grew up in Lausanne. I'm coming from Lausanne. And I started my first company when I was studying economics. So basically my background is economics. I used to be a ice hockey player. I played a professional ice hockey player up to 20 years old in National Liga B in Lausanne. So my first, let's say my first part of my life was really a sport-oriented career, which I used afterwards to create startups, because I think there is the same spirit in a team, in a ice hockey team or in a sport team. In a startup, you need most of the same characteristics to be successful, and that helped me a lot in my career. I'm 37 years old, so still young for some people, and starting slowly to be older for other ones. I have a I'm a kid which is 11 years old, like a son, playing football, very, very talented also. And for the moment, living in Lausanne and having a girlfriend since a few months now, which is also something new for me, because I worked a lot these last 10 years in the startup scene, so basically not always the time to take care about the family, which I do now.
Yeah. And so when you were 15, 16, going through school, did you already think about starting a company, or were you only focused on
No, never. I never thought in my mind, I will be an entrepreneur. My dad wasn't an entrepreneur. My whole family is not an entrepreneur family. So I really discovered entrepreneurship when I was studying, because I followed an option in my studies, which was innovation management and entrepreneurship, which I followed in loving, which was something which gave sense to my life, and which I experimented very, very quickly by creating my first company. And at that time, I really was convinced that that was what I wanted to do in my life. I had the chance to experiment a little bit to corporate by making my trainee in a big company, but I was never really following the rules. So I understood very quickly that I was creative, that all the limits that were given to me were were set to go outside of these limits. So I've very early thought that going up front or going out of the limits was something very interesting that most of the people don't do, because they're mostly risk averse. They have to stay in some limits to be efficient. And I wasn't, so I tried to start my own company. And
how old were you when you?
I was 26, 25, finishing my studies, so having no revenues and having just a few savings on my bank account. Most of my friends were going abroad, making some very nice trip with their savings, and I decided to invest all what I had from my former as a young guy into a company, which was really a risk at that time, because it was a lot of money from me at that time. And I said, okay, will start my company. And I can remember because that was getting out of studies when you are just a new bachelor and you say, okay, now I will earn a lot of money, I've made a lot of efforts to get there. It was asking me to make some more efforts, and getting out of the studies and saying, hey guys, I will earn nothing from starting from now was quite a tricky thing. But it has helped me to be creative, to be very efficient in what I had to have to deliver, and to find money. So I very quickly went to investors, having these investor talks. I made almost 70 or 80 investor talks before getting the first round of money. And the first round of money got me 50,000 francs.
This was with your first startup?
Yeah, my first startup, Secure4. Yeah. Secure4 was doing mobile accessories. So we developed a valuable protection object which was able to protect your laptop or any object you wanted to have with you. You had a small credit card size device that you put it in your bag, and you had an application on a mobile phone which was able to generate a circle around you where your object was protected, and as soon as you get out of the circle, you got an alert on your mobile phone. So you had some different parameters that you can have and set up on the product. And so this idea, we had this idea before the iPhone was on the market. So you can remember 10 years ago, no one was able to understand what an application was. So we were very early, and probably it's too early in this market.
Where did the idea originally come from?
From me. So basically I had the idea, and I came from the business side, so I didn't have any technical skills. So I very quickly found an engineer, which has become my partner, and which I hired in a bar, very easily making apéro, and telling him that I just raised 50,000 francs and that I had 3 months to pay him, and that I need him for developing the product to the next step, and if I'm succeeding, I will get the second round of investment. And so we had a business proposal in another company, which was obviously better paid than what I was paying him, but I already sold him the dream. And I was really good at convincing people about the dream that I wanted to put in place, and that's what every entrepreneur has to be able to do. And he accepted that. I was very surprised because I said, oh, these guys, I'm offering 3,000 francs a month for 3 months, and he could get 5 in another company, but he still comes to my projects, which was something which I was very surprised. And this guy came, and we made 8 years together. He was my best partner, and after he became shareholder of the company. And we've made a lot of story, which we have obviously the time to discuss about. Yeah.
And what convinced you, or what made you think that you would be successful with your idea? So many people have an idea, they think they have something that's a product or a concept that's going to be the next big thing. Correct. In your case with Secure4, what gave you the feeling that you were going to succeed, and that this was the thing that you needed to chase after?
Yeah.
Especially so, like as far as I understood, you with just an idea went and raised 50K to go ahead and then start building something.
Yeah, I think
no MVP, no development, no
co-founder. Right. I mean, you have to be, when you are an entrepreneur, you still have to be a little bit like a child. You have to believe in dreams. You have to believe in things which are impossible. And I think if I would have asked me very rationally, will you succeed? I would probably have had 100 times the chance to answer yes, because very rationally there was almost no chance that I would be able to succeed in this enterprise, because I had no money, I had no experience in technical stuff, no experience in managing any companies or anything. So basically there was zero chance that I could be successful. But I only believed in my vision, my perception of things. And obviously I made some marketing research, and I went to the people, I challenged the distributors, I challenged the other brands, I made marketing competition studies. I was really able to become an expert in my field, and I understood that there was a need, and I had to fulfill a need with some economical requirement and technical requirement which should fit in that. And what we did, in fact, at the end, because we were succeeding in making a product which was at the right price for the right target, and to distribute it through the right partners. So that's what we've done at the beginning. But obviously, most of the people I was surrounded with were all telling me, "You're crazy. You will never succeed. You better go to a corporate, have a salary, and why don't you take more fun in your life and making some money?" And I said, "Yeah, but I'm making fun. I'm creating something from zero. So I'm really making something which has sense for me." And that was what gave me the sense of my life. And after all, it's convincing, never giving up. I've never give up. So basically, many times in the company we ran out of money. So we raised the first 50,000. After the 50,000, we had 300,000. We raised another 800,000 up to 7 million after 7 years. So I made several rounds of investment, but in between several rounds, I had also a period of time where the company was completely illiquid, where the customer were not here, that the product was not ready, and that during 6 months I had no salary. So you have to survive, you have to believe very strongly in what you are doing. If not, you lose your company, you lose your team members, you lose most of the things. So basically that's many times very difficult in a startup, because you have to live with that. And I have now experience with 3 startups. In all 3 startups, we live that. So basically the lack of money at a certain period of time, hiring people, firing people, and becoming a very small nucleus which is always staying, and that's the guy which at the end are successful in a startup, because they are able to go through hell. When you go through hell, keep going. That's the famous.
And so the first person that you hired, your technical guy, did he become your co-founder?
Yeah, in fact, I asked him to invest money in the company. Everybody which puts his balls in the company is more efficient. That's the learning. All the other are here to earn money. And so if they are here to earn money, they are also the first which are going out of the project. So there is different motivation. You have to find people which have a motivation which is not around money. When you are starting a startup, you really have to have people which are believing in a vision, which are able to take risk, and which for which money is something which is nice to have, but which they don't need too much or so much. Because arrived at a certain level in your life, you have a certain amount of things, and you have a certain level of life, and most of the people arrived at this certain level could not come back, and that's very difficult when you are becoming a startup, because sometimes you have to decrease your salary or having no salary at all, which is very important to make the project successful.
Right. And because that's a question that comes up often with different entrepreneurs about finding a co-founder. In this case, was he the only co-founder, or were you able to grow with several other people who, as the company grew, were able to be part of that core team, part of that close knit, to lift each other when things are down, or it was mainly the two of you?
Yeah, I mean, I can consider him now as a co-founder, but I would say that most of the things were on my shoulder. So on the first company, I was really alone, which I avoided now in the 2 next ones, because that was really very, very difficult. I mean, when everything is on your shoulder, this is very difficult. In the company that I'm in now, we are 4 co-founders. So it eases a little bit, because all the problems are spread between 4. So you're not alone to carry everything, which is highly appreciable, and for your life balance is also something which which you need to consider when you are starting up. So basically, if you have to have co-founders, select them well, because you have to work with them on a long period of time. So you have also to have people which have the same vision and the same value as you have. That's why I'm talking also about money, because if you have co-founders which are interested only about money, it will crash at a certain period of time. And it's very important to share that vision and that people are convinced about this, and all the rest is after, let's say, operational decisions, which is very easy to handle with. Mm-hmm. But if the vision and the mindset is not the same, it's more difficult to work with people.
So Secu4 was more of a hardware product.
It was combining all the problems that you can get in one company. I mean, if I would start again now, which I did, I would probably never do again what I've done by Secu4, because it was hardware development, so basically electronic, all around electronic, which with all the logistics problem to send out the products, with all the technical problem on the manufacturing, so basically manufacturing products in China, because you have to have low cost products to get the margins for the electronic market is a nightmare. Yeah, a nightmare. You have so much of a problem, and this is really difficult to handle. I mean, this is probably one of the markets which is the most difficult. And in addition to that, we had to develop softwares on mobile, on different platforms, because at that time we had Symbian phones, still Nokia, which was the leader of the market, Windows phones, Androids, iPhones, BlackBerry, which was still strong at that time. So we had to develop on 5 different OS on mobile phone at the very early stage, where we were using Bluetooth, which was not always the standard on all the phones. Yeah. So handling different Bluetooth signals, handling different OS, managing software development, managing electronic development, hardware problems, quality problems, and at the end still design and making the distribution channels and all the logistic problem to sell products all over Europe, US, considering tax problems and so on. So, I mean, in one company, I experimented all the major problems that you can have in major other startups. So this one was really completely the most complicated. Now I'm in a company which is making insurance comparison. And in this segment, it's more easy because you have only software dedicated technicians, and it's highly scalable. I mean, this is very easy. You have salaries, you hire your people, you fire people, but you have a very large amount of your money which is dedicated directly on the product. All the rest you don't need to finance really heavily production in between before you are paid from your customer and so on, which is also very, very important.
So for those who are interested in developing a hardware product, because there's plenty of people I've talked to who have an idea for a physical product, what would be your main recommendation? What advice?
Start very small. Start very small. Start locally, even if it's expensive, if it's more expensive. If you start locally and that you do a very good product and that you are very close to your factory, very close to your engineer, it's very easy after to scale up. If you have a problem that you have to solve when you are making the first production, if your guys are in China or in East Europe or in North Morocco, you have mostly major troubles which will come ahead. So start small, even if you lose a little bit of money, better start locally. There are players here in Switzerland which are doing good job for smaller volume because they understood that also. And that's probably the best advice that I can give, and really make focused marketing and focused achievements on the local market. Mm-hmm. Take a small shop, drink a beer with the owner and say, hey guy, I need you. Can I come into your shop, make my tests into the shop to see how people react, what kind of marketing you should do, and after expand the model which is working. Mm-hmm. Because if not, you will burn a lot of money.
Even if it's product being developed or being produced in a cheaper place. You
Yeah,
still lose-
afterwards you can afterwards go and develop outside. I mean, it's perfectly fine, but you have to have, let's say, your process should be really prepared locally here, and once you duplicate there and that you're making volume, you can go outside of Switzerland and really make the first production plants. And always have as a backup financially the amount of money to make another series, because the first series, if it's your first series in China, you will probably have some problems. So you have to be able to get some more money to be able to reproduce a complete series, because sometimes it crashes. And when you have to negotiate afterwards and that the guys have to redo the complete things, sometimes it's better that you do with another partner and you start again. So that would be my advice. It's experiment. I've done that. So basically, I really had some troubles with. I had 4 partners up to the point where I was satisfied with the quality, and I sent almost 10 times my quality manager in China to make the processes in the manufacturer to be able to make all the tests right and to get the correct quality. So 4 product producer, 4 manufacturer
before
you got the one which was really trustful.
Yeah. And so with Sikipur, there came sort of a crossroads for you in the company where you had to make a decision about your company and about whether you would stay with the company or not. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah. I mean, when you found a company which has a large success, and we had large success with Secure4, and you have to, at a certain moment of time, we were a unique product startup. So basically, we had only one product. We had to innovate to be successful and on the future. So basically, what we did was I brought in a new innovation, which was a tracker which was able to generate GPS positioning for pets, animals, and for animals, child, and objects. And we were negotiating. I was negotiating with British Telecom at that time to having a big deal in UK, and I was almost done to get a deal. And the first product was going down, so the sales were going down. I had to fire some of the big team members, and we were really in the pace where the first product was okay, went well, generated the first revenue, but we had to reinvent the next generation of product. And the board of the company, the investor, which overtook the majority of the company, so I lost the company majority. I couldn't decide from my own, which was probably also a very difficult point at that time, because I had lost really the influence on the company. I was the CEO, but I was no more deciding into the board. And at that time where the investor told me, okay, we will not go for this product, this is not part of our strategy. They wanted to go on another strategy in which I didn't believe in. And all my team members also. So basically, that was a very strange position where a board of investors, which was no more aligned with us, and they take some strange decisions, and yeah, I thought I was no more aligned. And when you are no more aligned, when you are a minority, sometime you better have to go out. And after 7 years having led this company, I thought it was the good time for me to go out. It was also a good timing for me because my health was very badly hurt. I was almost burned out at that timing, and so it was a very hard decision. But now with 2 years of experiment after that, I have to say that it's probably the best decision that I took, because I recovered my freedom. That's very strange to say that. But I was really stuck with something which was taking and overtaking all my life. I was completely focused on that, so I didn't have the chance to see anything else out of this.
Right.
So I took this time to travel a little bit around the world and to recenter everything around myself, which helped me a lot. and to take all the experience that I got in Secure4 to redo something new. But obviously that was a very difficult time, and after that I had to fight in law with my former investors. So I had 2 years of fight on let's say in front of lawyers and so on, which was not really an interesting part of my life, but that was part of the story. So I accepted, and I've taken out some learnings from that, and now I'm very much conscious of different elements that I do differently now. And in this new startup, I really pushed all my learnings in, which is very cool. And I have another engagement, or another personal engagement, and I try really to get another life balance also, to be also happy outside of my company and not only living for my company, which is something which might be sometimes very tricky.
So when it comes to investor relations and that whole side of things, what's the key learning you had from that initial experience, and what would you recommend? As you can imagine, many people are looking for funding and looking for investors, and it's always tricky to know, you need the money, you need the funding, but in your case you ended up giving away too much of the company in order to keep the company alive, as far as I understand. So what's the one key element or key learning from?
Yeah, in the investment segment, there is many. But I would say that the first one is when you look for an investor, you are looking for the bride. So it's like a wedding. You're married with the people who will invest in your company. And as soon as you have investors, I would say mostly VCs, because business angels are probably more likely to be entrepreneurs, which understand a little bit more on the human perspective what you're going through. So basically they are a little bit more kind. But as long as you have VC which are entering the capital or equity of your company, you start with another pace, another pressure. So I mean, those guys are not here to laugh; they are there to make money. And so basically, this change the mentality, and this change also the spirit of the company. And also you had board meetings which were quite funny, and suddenly you have board meetings which becomes very serious, and you don't have the chance to make any mistakes. So yeah, I mean, VC is a good thing, and you're happy when they are bringing millions in your company because you can work, but you have a lot of things which push your pressure on behind your shoulder, and that's one of the learning. And I would say in terms of valuation of a company and what you get for the money, it's always a negotiation. So don't be afraid to push a little bit the valuation to get really the highest ratio for your shares. And you will probably, it depends a little bit on the project, but for highly scalable project, you will probably have four to five rounds of investments, taking from the very start to 50,000 up to 4 or 5 million. So basically, just calculate that every time you make a round, you don't lose too much of your shares. That's one of the key learnings. And how do you do that? By achieving in between two fundraising the things that you have promised, which is very important. Don't overpromise things. You have to make them dream, but you have to achieve also. So if you achieve, you are in a better position to negotiate. If you don't achieve, wait that they will push you and that the valuation decrease. Mm-hmm. So it's always a very tricky discussion about what can I achieve, but I have also to sell a dream. And so it's a rational part of you and a very irrational part. So you have to deal with that. And that's what's very difficult to do with VCs, because they have all different profiles. There are VCs which are betting a little bit more, and there are other ones which are very structured and which will like an entrepreneur which is very structured. So you have, as I said, to find the right wedding, and once you find the right wedding, normally it's more easy to work with. But the good thing is once you have a VC inside, if you are achieving, they got the money behind to support you in the next funding. So that's easy. That makes you a little bit the more easy. And after last point or last key learning, because obviously I've made that 3 times. The most difficult point is exactly in which we are now with Smartie at the current time, is when you are between business angel funds or the first fundraising, and that you are starting to generate revenue, that the model is not still very clear, and that you need some millions to really be able to go to the next level. And this is called the Death Valley, very well known for startup. This is where you either die or continue and find an investor. And this period of time, if you have to raise funds against VC, you have to calculate 6 to 9 months minimum to get from the first contact to the money on the bank account. And most of the entrepreneurs are underestimating that, and most of them are dying because they are short cash. And that's sad, but I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs dying because
they expect it to come too soon.
Yeah, and VCs are sharks. They also look at who is able to survive with a very limited amount of money, and they bet on those guys because they say that they go through hell, so they are able to go. So yeah, this type of mentality, if you have a little bit dense with investors, you see that, and they also wait up to the last point to negotiate the valuation, and so it's really a tricky deal with that.
Right.
Yeah. I never had the chance to get a startup which was overachieving everything, where you had really the knife in the hand to negotiate with VC. So
along the course of our conversation, if someone has a question, just raise your hand, and we'll include the question as well. So after Secu4 and MaxiCrop, you are now shifting into a purely digital product.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a change from a hardware focus to purely software focus. Where did the idea come from? And I guess similar to the original question, where did the idea come from? What makes you think it's the next big thing?
Okay.
And how come no one else is doing it?
So basically, I'm not the original founder of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I've been recruited by the founder, like I recruited my co-founder. And I've been recruited online, so digitally on LinkedIn. And my co-founder is Indian. He's the founder, the original founder of the company, CEO of the company. And he had the idea. He's coming from the insurance market, so since 18 years. I have no clue about insurance. But I can tell you that everything is working in every startup almost the same, just the product change and the people. But most of the questions are exactly the same, the process is exactly the same, what you have to bring is exactly the same. So even if I was not knowing the market when I started, there is no problem, because you learn by learning by doing. So basically, I face the customer, I face the insurance, and now I'm making presentation to CEOs. On Monday, I'm making a presentation to the CEO from AXA, and I'm not an insurance specialist. I mean, that's okay as long as you're involving yourself in the project, that you understand, that you study the market, that you understand the key issues, and that you learn. That's okay.
So in a nutshell, what is Smartie?
So Smartie is a comparison portal for insurance. Let's say that in a sentence, it's the Tripadvisor for insurance comparison. That's the vision that we have for this product. Basically, people are looking for insurance, and very curiously, they still are in this modus where they have physical agents that they meet to make an insurance, and this guy is telling them, hey, you know what, you have to take this product, and you don't have any clue about insurance. And everybody is confronted to change his insurance. Is it health, car, life, household? But nobody takes time, because it's not easy, because it's not sexy. So basically, what we aim with Smartie is to be able to make it sexy and make it easy. So we bring on a platform all the elements for you to decide very easily on insurance product, comparing them by performance, by price, putting you in contact with the best agents in your local area. Every people which comes on Smartie can rate the agents, rate the product. So it's a community-based really system. So doing more and doing better to bring you to a better decision when you change your insurance. And so you have your own profile where you can store your insurance on Smartie, and we will take care of that and looking for the next best solution for you to be insured. Okay. And so you don't have to think too much, but always that when you think about insurance, you go to Smartie and you are able to get the best information. Because insurance will give their own shit, let's say so. Custom agents will also orient you on the product that they want to sell you and not the one which is the best for you. And brokers are even more crap because they are signing you a contract and they make you sign and they get money for everything that they change for you. So it's a model for us which is very interesting. And the vision behind that, and that's why I was convinced, is that it works in any other market. Tripadvisor is working in the travel restaurant market, and we see a lot of community which are around specific topics. But very closely, there is nothing in the insurance segment, and insurtech is a very high topic at the moment. Digitalization of the fintech and insurtech is very interesting topic at the moment, and since 1 year there is a boom in that, and we are in the right window of opportunity. That's why I really jumped into the project because I felt that it's the right moment. Okay. And being in the right moment is something very important for a startup, and that's why I jumped in and I took those risks to come back into a new project and to bring my experience as a startupper, mostly on investment, on VC relationship and organization. So I took over the role of COO, which is a different role, very obviously more a backup or a helping role for the CEO. And he is the creative guy, which is really making the vision, the innovation. I'm the guy which is rationalizing things and hiring people and putting them in place and managing finance and organizing, structuring the thing. So basically, we have a good interaction. We have another co-founder which is in India, which is taking care of the technical development based there. So local people managing local people, right. Which is for that topic of discussion very important. And we have a sales guy, which is our fourth co-founder, which is taking care of the sales here, and which has experience here in insurance market also.
So how big is your team?
So we are 6 now here in Switzerland, based in Zurich, and we have 16 people in India.
So doing the development?
Yeah, doing the development, yeah.
So together with right now developing the new company and then going back a little bit to Singapore, when it comes to building your team, when you first few people that come on board, it's always many times it's serendipitous. But then there comes a point where you need to start hiring people and you grow beyond 5, 6, suddenly you're 10 people before you know it, you're 20 people. How do you develop a company culture and to share that idea? What tips do you have for hiring people, for developing a company culture from the beginning that you want that you want to last as your company grows?
I would say you have to follow your feelings. Mostly. I know that Smartie, in Secure4, I created my own company and I hired my team members. So basically I had a large influence on the hiring of the people. And so basically the team was really related to my own personality because I was looking for people which I thought were good, okay? So
and that worked well.
Yeah, that worked well. I had a good team by Secure4, less problems that probably I have now with Smartie, but Smartie is a very different company because we started with very high level potential people, which I didn't do when I was with Secure4. With Secure4 I was more in a student mood, so I hired students mostly, And afterwards, I really get to the more experimented guys. We started more like students, a student project, and after we raised to people which were higher qualified.
Right.
So it was a little bit different. In Smartie, we really started with kick-ass people. So it was just amazing when we started to hire people. All the guys I was hiring, I was always saying, hey, I have 10 years of experience in the startup field, but those guys are even more experienced than I am. And I'm still considering myself as quite an expert in the startup field. So Smartie is really a very highly talented team. So it brings me also into confidence because of that, for that perspective.
Right.
And this is also mainly influenced by our CEO, which is a guy which is very achievement oriented, and he has a real aura on the team. And so basically he has more this influence. So the complete team is also more influenced by himself. So I can also see that. So
right.
I can compare also. And I would not say that one model is better than another. There are two different models, and they are both working. So in my first company, and the model was working. Here, it's working. We just have probably a more higher turnover rate because people are dedicated to stay longer. Taking part co-founders.
Right.
So people which we are hiring now are more employees than really co-founders. So it makes another relationship with the people. And I have also to learn that because I'm quite someone which is human being related. So I try also not to be binded with all the people we hire because I know that they can leave now at any time, and mostly this is my job to find them. So
Joel, you had a question?
Yeah, I have two questions. Isn't this product a lot like Comparis? You asked, isn't someone else in the space already?
Yeah. I mean, we don't like when we are compared to Comparis, but it's right that we are obviously giving one part of what we are outputting is similar to Comparis. But the main difference is that we are working on this rating perspective. So basically what is important for us is what people think about the product. It's not only the price. Comparis is giving you a raw price, and after a rating. We are giving you first a rating and after a price, because we think what is important for you is to get the product with the best customer relationship, the best coverage, aimed for you.
So you are acting as a broker essentially?
No, because we are not a broker. We don't want to enter the broker model because insurance law don't like brokers, because brokers sign with you, and a broker, after he has signed with you, every signature he makes for you for all contracts, he gets reward for that. So even if you change yourself without asking to a broker, should I change? You are recorded as client from this broker, and so you get the insurance has to pay the broker even if he does nothing, and that's something which insurance tried to get rid of that. So we didn't enter that because our goal is to make a free tool which is able to get enough data to make marketing analysis and to sell them after to the insurance. And so the business model revenue is not linked to the conversion, but to the data analytics which is behind Smartie. So which is a completely different model.
So I had one more question.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with this sort of model of lean startups, right?
Yeah, today.
Do you, I don't know, have you used that, or do you adhere to this model of lean canvas and this sort of methodology?
I would say, I've seen this lean startup concept, but every startup is a lean startup because you can start with any company. The product that you thought at the very beginning is not the one with whom we will have success. So you can at every stage say that we are a lean startup, because even if you are a physical product, the one with whom we will have success is probably not the one you created at the beginning. So obviously the business model has to be experimented to see where is the most focus that you have to put in place. But for that you have to try. And you have to make mistakes. And there are mistakes which cost you a lot, and there are mistakes which cost you less. And that's how you survive, by making less, smaller, costly mistakes. And that's why I'm thinking that lean startup is in every startup.
And speaking of mistakes, is there a particular time where that you had a significant failure in your business or in your life, and how did you see that, and how did you recover from that and come back from that?
I'm addicted now to make mistakes, and I'm happy to make mistakes. At the very beginning, I was always concerned about mistakes, and I was always wondering. And that's why I'm very open to mistakes from the other, because I know that's part of the process. Unfortunately, in a startup, you have also to deliver, so you cannot make some. If you only make mistakes, you cannot succeed. But I would say that yes, I've went through a couple of mistakes. Certainly, there are things that I would have done differently if I would know the consequences. But you never can erase something you have decided, so you better have to assume what you've decided, even if it's a mistake, and learn from it. And as long as the consequences are not dramatic, just overtake that, go back, work, and make it again, and try not to make twice the mistake. That's for sure. There was a question.
Yeah. Yes.
So you talked about valuation and investment, and when you're raising funds.
Yes.
How did you actually, I guess, create this perception of your company's value when there is none? Because you haven't generated sales, you haven't, you don't have a database or a customer base. How do you actually create a value when there is none?
Dream.
Huh?
Dream. You have to make people dream. So, storytelling is very important. Training yourself, pitching is very important. I've made 100 pitch before I get my first million. I met, 500 people. I went in every networking sessions. I was in every networking session from entrepreneurs. Do you know this guy? You're exchanging business cards. Doing. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to be shy, because you have to move, and your company is moving as fast as you are moving. So if you don't move quick, your company will not move quick. And investor after look at the coherence. So basically, they are looking at 5 or 6 indicator, team, market. There is some very structured things that you can find everywhere if you're looking for investor. You just have some coherence to have. So show them the coherence between all those points, and make them dreams. They know that there is a risk, but they have to see what is the big market behind that, how we want to go there, what are the steps. How do you see the steps before going there? Are they realistic? Are you the right guy to do it? Do you have the passion to do it? Are you able to transmit this passion to people? And that's very important. I think most of the things are coming from you and from yourself, and that's what they are challenging.
So Tripadvisor changed the whole industry, and it's this amazing model that kind of brings data from lots of individual customers and turns it into something that not only adds value to the customers but makes the company rich because you can sell the data on. And I get the model, but I think you've chosen one of the hardest areas to do this, because you've got to somehow incentivize people to actively tell you about their insurance buying experience. How do you do that?
By raising up the user experience and by bringing value. So basically we are trying now to put in place some models, which I will not obviously tell you here, but which will bring the value for the customer. And so everything is about the experience and the value add that you're bringing. So our real goal is to anticipate or bringing you always the best advice. And if you are going on vacation, we know how your protected because we know your insurance policy. So if you are lending in Thailand, we can tell you, hey, by the way, if you want, you can we can sell you an insurance which covers you against that, because your insurance policy says that you are not covered for that. You want to spend $10 for that. So basically, we are going into a model where people trust us and give us their details, and in the counterpart, we are bringing them security, or delivering security for them and anticipating their needs and making them save money at a time where it's something which is very reluctant for everybody. I mean, I don't like to manage my insurance policies. It's always a nightmare. So here we are trying really to ease the maximum and to be in the shoes of our customer, to be able to bring them the best experience. So forget about your insurance, Smartie will take care. If there is a better offer, we will come to you and tell you. You just have to press a button if you want to change your insurance. And that's the model behind Smartie. And so that's why we call it, it's not exactly the same model as Tripadvisor, but it's really to simplify a little bit the message. That's the best sentence we find to explain our model. But it's working a little bit like this.
And what advice would you give a young Ralph today, if you could go back and see 20-year-old Ralph, what would you say?
Keep dreaming, but take care. Be careful of people which got money. They are not always here for your best. No, I mean, I've been very naive, and that's probably one of the things of my personality which I like the most, but which I lost also the most in the last few years. Because obviously, I trust people. By nature, I trust people. And I've been mistrusted many times now in my career. And so basically, that's my key learning as a personal entrepreneur and a personal human being. And but at the same time, it's probably my best strength, because it makes me idealistic and making me dream about projects which might come to a certain level, and that brings me this motivation to go through difficult things, because I believe that this vision is always higher than the difficulties you have to go through.
Right. And in 2013, you were elected as Entrepreneur of the Decade.
Yeah.
What do you think made set you aside from the other entrepreneurs, and that brought that award to you?
It's always difficult to judge for the other. I mean, I had the chance to be elected for that. I was obviously very proud of this. I mean, I've put so much of an effort. When I started my first company, I traveled all around the world. I was every week in the plane, making conference every night in different part of the cities. I was really invited in most of the highest conference, also to pitch. So I had a lot of energy, really a lot of energy, and I still have, but I use it a little bit differently today, as I said. And this energy, people felt it, I think. And obviously in Valais, where I started my company, I had a very large network. So basically, I was knowing everybody from politicians to guys from the university to startup entrepreneurs. So I was really well implemented. I made my job. I was meeting people, involving everybody in my project. I had a lot of support of even people which are not involved in the company, which was very strange for me, because I had this passion. And I think entrepreneurs which are successful are people which are able to highly inspire people around them. And that's probably one of the key success factor for an entrepreneur. Inspiring people, being able to bring emotion in what you are believing in, and transmitting this passion to others. And so obviously for CQ4 we raised 7 million francs. So this had an impact on the Valais, on the visibility of Valais, on the visibility of the Swiss startup scene, the company was elected also in the 100 most promising startups in the world. So it was really, I mean, challenging for Switzerland. So I was really in every newspaper every two to 3 weeks. It's just amazing. And when you are young and when you are just coming out from that, you are very happy from this.
For sure.
From this, yeah. I mean, you've done something with what you started with a white paper, and you got all this attraction from all those people. And I mean, it's always very interesting to see how quick you are on top, and also how quick you can after disappear from things. And that's a learning also from that. So yeah.
You had mentioned the challenge of work-life balance a number of times.
Yes.
If I calculate right, you had pretty much at the same time you were raising a company but also raising a kid.
Yes.
Or in part at least. And how did you personally deal with that?
Badly.
Sorry?
Very badly. Very badly with my son on the, let's say, the first to first years of his life. And since 3 years, I'm really catching up very quickly. And I have another relationship with my kid now, and I'm really happy. And that's why I'm saying that I've made some clear learnings, and that also gave me a life balance which is highly appreciable now. I'm achieving way more things, by the way, because I have experience also, but I'm achieving more by working a little bit, let's say, less. I need less time to achieve the same amount of things, which is appreciable. And this amount of time that I save, I keep it for myself.
But still, if I understand you right, so the effort you've put in, I mean, that was required. It wouldn't have been an option to...
No, I couldn't.
Take
I couldn't do it differently. I had a girlfriend at that time. I can tell you it was very difficult because she never really understood how I could live without any salary between 6 months suddenly. Why I never had time on weekends, why I never had time to think about her, and why I was never focused on her needs, which was afterwards right. But when I was in, it was just obvious for me that I had to drive this company. And yeah, you understand things like that only afterwards, and you say, okay, I've probably done some mistakes. Because you close your eyes on a lot of things, because the only thing which matters is delivering and bringing this company on top. And the other thing is that you have a lot of people behind you, and under you, and around you, and all those people are watching you. I was in the newspaper, I had a pressure, you guys can imagine. I mean, I had a company which was one of the most promising. I had journalists which were asking me, okay, you were building the next big thing in Switzerland, how you behave? And I knew that we had trouble in revenues, and we had fired the guy last week, and you had still to show that you were the guy which is bringing the company forward. So I had to deal with very, very difficult issues, and I learned a lot. And that makes me a little bit completely outside of the world. And I just came back into earth when I quitted my company, because I just put it in my bag, and my bag was even every year heavier, and I was becoming very, very low in energy, and I didn't knew that, and I didn't saw that. I understood it after a few months. And now I'm really conscious about this. So basically, I'm
Keeping a balance.
Yeah, I keep the balance. I know exactly the limits. So I see when the thing is arriving. I say, no, okay, stop. Take a step back. Think about that, and now, okay, that's how we will deal it.
Right.
And I'm a guy which has never had the chance to say no. I'm a guy which say always yes. I have very much troubles to say no to someone, and I learned to say no, which was my most biggest learning after those years. So now I'm able to say no, and it works also more easier for me because I have less stress, because most of the people come with their problems, give you most of the problems, but they can handle them themselves. So if you are able to say no, you are also able to have less stress on your job. So that's another learning that I have, and which I use here in my new company,
right,
and which makes me more efficient also.
So we need to wrap up now.
Yeah.
But to wrap up, we have a short list of questions.
Okay.
Very short questions, and the idea is for you to answer right away with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, let's go.
So, what item do you own that you would never sell?
An item.
What's one thing that you have that you would never get rid of?
Yeah. This is a bottle of wine.
So what's that?
A bottle of wine.
It's a bottle of wine. Yeah, it's.
Okay. What is your most unusual skill?
I'm dancing naked.
What's more important, strength, speed, or stamina?
Stamina.
What historical figure do you most admire?
My father.
Who do you think does a great job?
Good idea. Good question. Burkhalter, our Confederation minister.
And what's your favorite season?
Summer.
And when was the last time you tried something new?
Last time I said. Yeah, I always try something new, so I would say not very long time.
Do you remember what it was? Something recent, something new? All right, so let's move on.
No,
if you could have the attribute of any animal, which animal would it be?
Lion.
Excellent. So just some curious, some fun questions to wrap up. Once again, thank you very much, Ralph,
Thank you for the
being with us
invitation.
this evening and for the questions we had tonight.